When we often think about how the world's major religions spread, our minds tend to jump to powerful images,
Hmm.
conquering armies, maybe epic clashes or grand narratives of empires expanding.
Hmm.
It's almost a default assumption, isn't it?
It really is. That's the picture most people have.
But what if that familiar picture, at least for one of the largest religions on Earth in a massive region, is actually, well, incomplete?
Or maybe even misleading in some ways.
Exactly. What if the primary characters weren't soldiers, but rather merchants, scholars, and quiet spiritual guides?
A totally different narrative.
That's exactly what we're diving into today. The truly surprising story of how Islam took root and flourished in South Asia.
Yeah.
Our mission for this deep dive is to cut through some common misconceptions and unpack a stack of fascinating sources that reveal a profoundly different picture.
Mm.
We're going to explore how trade, trust, and deep community ties, rather than military might, were the primary architects of Islam's early widespread presence here. It's a shortcut, really, to understanding a complex historical narrative that genuinely challenges conventional wisdom.
And it's such a critical point to make because for centuries, Islam's growth across a region as vast, incredibly diverse as South Asia was predominantly a story of peaceful, organic integration.
Peaceful and organic.
Yeah, we're looking at a slow, deep-rooted process. And this started well before the arrival of those powerful Turkic-Afghan dynasties we know as the Delhi Sultanate or, the later magnificent Mughal Empire.
So long before the big empires everyone knows about.
Exactly. This narrative offers a powerful counterpoint to many of the simplified histories we often hear.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to truly grasp this story, we have to rewind, and I mean way back.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about established connections that were thriving long before Islam itself even emerged in 7th century Arabia. It wasn't a blank slate, was it?
Oh, not at all. The groundwork for cultural and economic exchange was already deeply laid. Arab merchants had been sailing to and trading with India for centuries before the Prophet Muhammad received his first revelations.
Centuries before.
Yes, think of the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea as a kind of superhighway of ancient commerce.
Huh?
They connected bustling ports like Aden and Basra directly to key Indian coastal cities such as Kerala and Gujarat. The Indian Ocean was, without exaggeration, one of the world's busiest and most dynamic trade routes, a real hub of global exchange.
Wow. So if these trade networks were already humming with activity,
Mhm.
how did they actually transform from conduits for goods to conduits for a new faith?
Right.
What was the mechanism that allowed belief to travel alongside, spices and silks?
That's the key question, isn't it? When Islam did emerge, these pre-existing robust trade networks didn't just continue moving goods, they became critical conduits for the new religion.
Ah, so they piggybacked on existing routes.
Precisely. Arab traders, now often Muslim, carried not just precious commodities like spices, pearls, and fine textiles, but also their faith, their customs, their whole way of life. They were cultural ambassadors as much as they were merchants.
And these weren't just fleeting visits, right? Our sources suggest these traders didn't just pass through, they truly integrated.
Exactly right. This wasn't just trade. It was profound integration. These Arab traders weren't merely stopping over. They often settled permanently in these vibrant port cities, places like Calicut and Quilon, which we know today as Column.
Settle down.
Yes. They didn't just visit, they rooted, marrying into local families, establishing enduring Mutthal communities, building mosques, and openly practicing their faith peacefully.
Peacefully, that's the key.
And what's a powerful shift from the usual narrative of religious expansion is that their settled presence and these thriving communities predate any large-scale Muslim invasions by centuries.
Centuries.
Yeah. Historian Andre Wink's work, Al-Hind, really underscores this foundational point. It fundamentally altered the social landscape without a single soldier being involved initially.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Let's zoom in on a specific region, because it provides such a vivid example. The Malabar coast of southern India.
A classic case.
This area became one of the very first in South Asia to truly embrace Islam. And our sources paint a picture where local Hindu rulers weren't just tolerating Muslim traders.
No, not just tolerating.
They were actively welcoming them as indispensable partners.
Absolutely. And this is particularly striking when you consider the concrete evidence of this early integration. Think about the Cheraman Juma Mosque in Kerala.
Yes, I've heard of that one.
It is widely believed to be the very first mosque in India, built incredibly early, around 629 CE.
629, that's...
That's within the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad himself, which is just astounding. It vividly illustrates how quickly Islam arrived and established a physical, permanent presence through these peaceful trade connections. It wasn't an outpost, it was a home.
And it wasn't just about the architecture or location, was it? These Muslim traders earned immense respect and protection from the local Hindu rulers. Why? What was it about them that fostered such a welcoming environment?
Well, it seems to have come down to a combination of factors: their reputation for honesty, their reliability in business.
Trustworthy.
Exactly. And the significant economic contributions they brought to the region made them invaluable. They weren't perceived as a foreign threat, but as vital economic assets.
No, mutual benefit.
Absolutely. This mutual benefit created a strong bond of trust, allowing these communities to flourish side by side. It speaks volumes about the pragmatic and tolerant nature of these early interactions.
And this leads to an intriguing anecdote, one that really captures the spirit of that era, even if its exact historical details are still debated by historians like Stephen Dale.
The Chairman Perumal story.
Yes, we hear the story of a Hindu king, Chairman Perumal, who reportedly converted to Islam and then embarked on an incredible journey, traveling all the way to Arabia.
To meet the Prophet Muhammad himself.
Right.
And whether it's a fully factual account or a powerful foundational legend, it profoundly underscores the deep, respectful relationships that were forming between early Muslim communities and local leaders. It tells us about a remarkable openness to new ideas and connections that was present in that era, a far cry from the images of clashes we often conjure up.
A testament to respect.
It's a testament to the power of shared values and mutual respect, definitely.
Okay, so we've seen Islam take root in the bustling port cities.
Good.
But how did this faith move from those coastal hubs deeper into the heartland of the subcontinent?
Good question.
Was it still the traders carrying the message, or did a new force emerge to spread Islam inland?
That's where the Sufi saints become absolutely crucial. From about the 11th century onward, as trade continued to flourish and roots extended.
Okay, so a bit later.
Yes, a few centuries later, Sufis began to move away from the coasts and deeper into the subcontinent. Their methods were markedly different from traders, yet equally, if not more, effective in spreading the faith internally.
How so?
They weren't about commerce, they were about connection, human connection.
How did they operate? What was their unique approach that allowed them to connect with so many different people across vast distances?
Well, they established lodges known as khanqahs.
Khanqahs?
Yes, so Khanqahs. These became vibrant centers for spiritual guidance, community support, and charitable work. They weren't just places of worship, they were social hubs.
Community centers.
Exactly. Sufis welcomed everyone with open arms, offering shelter, food, and spiritual solace, regardless of their background or previous faith. They focused on shared human experience and compassion.
And it's easy to see why their teachings would appeal so widely to such a diverse population then.
Absolutely. Their approach was inherently peaceful and inclusive. They embraced local languages, making their message accessible, which is huge.
Right, not just sticking to Arabic.
Precisely. They respected existing local traditions, often incorporating local customs into their spiritual practices, which fostered a sense of familiarity rather than alienation.
So building bridges.
Yes. And perhaps most importantly, they lived right among the common people, sharing their joys and sorrows. This compassionate, grounded approach attracted a diverse array of converts from Hindus to Buddhists, and even those from lower caste communities who found solace, equality, and a powerful spiritual connection in their message.
Can you give us some examples of these influential Sufis whose work truly resonated, people we might have heard of?
Certainly. Think of figures like Muinuddin Chishti in Ajmer. His shrine remains a major pilgrimage site for people of all faiths even today.
Oh, right, Ajmer Sharif.
Exactly. Or Shah Jalal in Bengal, whose influence was instrumental in establishing Islam in vast parts of what are now India and Bangladesh. Their work fostered organic growth through genuine compassion, profound spiritual attraction, and community building, not through any form of coercion. Karl Ornst's extensive work on Sufism deeply explores this profound transformative aspect. It really highlights how spiritual leaders can shape entire regions.
So we've covered the Indian mainland, the coastal trade, the inland Sufis. But this fascinating story of peaceful spread didn't stop there, did it?
No, it didn't.
This pattern of trade and spiritual connection extended beyond India's borders, reaching other significant islands in the region.
That's right. Muslim merchants, leveraging those same established Indian Ocean trade routes, ventured further, reaching places like Sri Lanka and the Maldives.
Same routes, new destinations.
Exactly. And what's consistently remarkable is they employed an identical successful strategy. Trade first, with the religion naturally following as relationships deepened and communities formed.
Like a blueprint.
It really was. You could call it a model of soft power centuries before the term existed.
Tell us about the specifics in those regions. How did this play out in Sri Lanka and the Maldives?
Okay, so in Sri Lanka, Muslim communities settled strategically along both the eastern and western coasts. They quickly became integral parts of the local economy and social fabric, seamlessly blending into the diverse island culture.
Integrating quickly there, too.
Yes. And in the Maldives, Islam spread profoundly in the 12th century. This is famously marked by the conversion of the local king.
The king himself converted.
Yes, which was obviously a major turning point. And this occurred after significant contact with Muslim sailors and scholars who introduced the faith through intellectual discourse and shared experiences rather than any kind of conquest.
So again, conversation and connection, not force.
Exactly. It sounds like a stark contrast to how some religions spread in other parts of the world, particularly in later periods.
It really does.
And this is a crucial distinction to make. These conversions were fundamentally different from the kind of forced conversions often seen during later colonial periods, where economic or political leverage was used.
Right, very different motivations.
Instead, they arose from genuine cultural exchange, intellectual engagement, mutual respect, and the compelling appeal of the faith itself. As Maloney's study of the Maldives highlights, it was a remarkably peaceful and organic transition driven by connection.
Now, many listeners might be thinking, okay, but what about the big empires? The Delhi Sultanate, the Mughals. Didn't they play a significant role in spreading Islam?
That's the natural question, isn't it?
And yes, they absolutely did play a role, but our sources really clarify how their arrival fits into this much larger pre-existing narrative.
Yes, and this is an essential point to grasp here. By the time Turkic rulers, who founded the Delhi Sultanate and later the magnificent Mughal Empire, entered South Asia, Islam had already deeply rooted itself in the region.
It was already there.
Deeply there. The extensive groundwork laid by centuries of peaceful traders and compassionate Sufis wasn't just a footnote. It had already cultivated a foundational understanding and even acceptance of Islam amongst significant parts of the population.
Ah, I see.
This pre-existing presence undoubtedly made the empire's subsequent integration and rule smoother in many ways. It provided a kind of cultural bridge.
So while these empires certainly funded the construction of impressive mosques, grand madrasas, and magnificent Sufi shrines,
Which they absolutely did, yes.
much of the population had already been introduced to and had heard of Islam well before their armies marched in.
That's a key takeaway.
The empires built upon existing foundations, rather than having to lay entirely new ones from scratch.
Right.
They were bolstering, not initiating, in many areas.
Exactly. And when we connect this to the bigger picture, it reiterates our core message. While politics, patronage, and military power certainly played a significant role later on.
Can't ignore that part.
No, you can't. But the early foundational spread of Islam in South Asia was predominantly a local, peaceful, and slow process. It was built brick by brick, not by conquest, but by genuine human connections, cultural exchange, and spiritual resonance. As Richard Eaton's influential work on the Bengal frontier eloquently demonstrates, these long-standing community-level interactions are absolutely key to understanding Islam's deep roots here.
So what does this all mean for our understanding of history? Our deep dive today really reveals a truly surprising and nuanced historical lesson.
I think so.
When we look at Islam in South Asia, it's not primarily a story of religion imported by the sword or imposed by force.
That's right. Instead, it arrived in market stalls, on merchant ships, in the hands of adventurous sailors, and through the profound wisdom and compassion of Sufi saints.
A much gentler arrival.
A much gentler and perhaps more enduring arrival in many ways. Its immense growth is a powerful testament to how deeply a religion can spread not through conquest, but through trust, respect, shared values, and the fundamental human relationships forged over centuries of interaction. It's a story of invitation, not imposition.
The story of Islam in South Asia reminds us that the past wasn't always violent. Sometimes the most enduring and widespread ideas are carried not on the backs of soldiers, but on the sails of traders. and in the hearts of spiritual guides. It really makes you think differently about how beliefs truly spread and take hold, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Perhaps the quiet strength of connection is sometimes more powerful than any army.